Lieutenant Jack Mercer leaned against the observation window of the Horizon asterisk, watching as the blue-green world of Novaris slowly rotated below. As the ship's xenobiologist, he should have been excited about discovering an uncharted planet. Instead, he felt uneasy. Something about the planet's ecosystem readings didn't make sense. "Still brooding, Jack?" Dr. Lily Chen approached, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. "Thanks," he said, accepting one. "And not brooding. Thinking. The biodiversity scans show predator-prey ratios that are completely out of balance. There's something at the top of the food chain that's different." Lily nodded. "That's why Captain Wright wants boots on the ground. First expedition leaves in 2 hours. You're on the team." Jack felt a flutter of both excitement and apprehension. First contact with a new ecosystem was what he'd trained for, but the anomalous readings suggested caution. The landing site was a vast plain bordered by dense forest. As the team disembarked, Jack immediately noticed the silence. No insect sounds, no calls of native wildlife. "Fan out, but stay within visual range," ordered Security Chief Ben Harper. "Standard collection protocols. No unnecessary risks." Jack moved toward the forest edge, scanner in hand. The soil composition was rich with nutrients, but the undergrowth was sparse, as if regularly cleared. He knelt to examine a patch of disturbed earth. "Harper," he called. "You need to see this." The security chief approached as Jack brushed away more soil, revealing a metal fragment. Not just any metal. It was a piece of advanced alloy, the kind used in spacecraft hulls. "It's Silurian design," Harper said, his voice tense. "They sent an exploratory mission to this sector 2 years ago. Never returned. Further excavation revealed more debris, and organic remains that definitely weren't human. The bones had been broken, not by time or natural decay, but by powerful jaws." "We should head back," Harper suggested, his hand hovering near his weapon. That's when Jack noticed the tracks. Large, 5-toed impressions with unmistakable claw marks at the tips. Whatever left them walked on 2 legs and stood at least 7 feet tall. "How recent are these?" Harper asked. Jack didn't need his scanner. "Hours, maybe less." The forest behind them rustled. Birds, or something like birds, erupted from the canopy in a panic. Everyone froze. "Back to the shuttle," Harper whispered. "Slow and steady." They made it halfway across the plain when Jack's scanner began picking up rapid movement from the forest edge. He turned just in time to see it. A massive shape, moving with impossible speed despite its size. Dark-scaled skin, amber eyes, and rows of gleaming teeth. "Run," Harper shouted, raising his weapon. The creature was on them in seconds. It moved with terrifying intelligence, cutting off their escape route. Harper fired a warning shot, and the creature hesitated, tilting its head as if assessing the threat. That pause was enough. They scrambled into the shuttle, the door barely sealing before something heavy slammed against the hull. Back aboard the Horizon asterisk, the footage from their expedition caused immediate alarm. The alien members of the crew reacted with particular horror. "You encountered a Krell," said Science Officer Maya, her blue skin paling to white. "They are known throughout 3 galaxies as apex predators that cannot be reasoned with." Jack replayed the footage of the creature's hesitation after the warning shot. It showed restraint. That suggests intelligence. "The Krell have driven 3 spacefaring species to extinction," Maya countered. "Every civilization warns against contact. That planet must be quarantined immediately." Captain Wright nodded grimly. "I'm reporting this to command. Until then, no one leaves the ship." But as Jack studied the footage late into the night, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something. The Krell had shown calculation, not mindless aggression. There was more to this predator than anyone understood, and he intended to find out what. The emergency meeting aboard the Horizon asterisk turned heated as the Interstellar Council's orders came through. Captain Wright read them aloud. Planet Novaris is to be classified as Extreme Danger Level 5. All personnel must evacuate immediately. The region will be quarantined until further notice. Jack stood up, unable to contain himself. This is premature. We barely spent 2 hours on the surface. Did you miss the part where that thing nearly tore through our shuttle? Ben Harper shot back. But it didn't, Jack insisted. It could have, but it chose not to. That suggests intelligence, maybe even restraint. The alien crew members exchanged nervous glances. Science officer Maya's tentacles twisted anxiously. The Krell have a documented history of destruction. They appear to study prey behavior before mounting systematic attacks. Captain Wright silenced the growing argument with a raised hand. The Council's orders are clear. We pack up and leave within 24 hours. Jack approached the captain privately after the meeting. Susan, give me one more expedition. Something doesn't add up. Every predatory species I've studied has clear patterns and purposes to their aggression. The Krell's behavior doesn't match mindless predation. You're asking me to disobey direct orders from the Council, Wright replied, her face stern. I'm asking for 12 hours to gather more data before we abandon what could be the most significant xenobiological discovery in human history. Captain Wright studied him for a long moment. One final expedition. Minimal team, maximum security protocols. If that creature so much as breathes in your direction, you evacuate immediately. The next morning, Jack and a small team set up observation posts at the forest edge, using camouflage technology to hide their presence. For hours, they watched and recorded. The Krell emerged several times, each appearance revealing new information. Look at the way they mark territory, Jack whispered, pointing to a Krell dragging its claws along tree trunks in specific patterns. That's not random. It's a communication system. Or they're sharpening their claws to kill us more efficiently, Harper muttered. By midday, they had documented several Krell hunting smaller prey. The precision was remarkable. No wasted energy, no killing beyond immediate needs. Jack noticed something else too. The Krell seemed to avoid disturbing certain plant species, carefully moving around rather than through them. They're managing the ecosystem, Jack realized. Look how they're preserving those flowering plants while culling the herbivore population that would otherwise overgraze them. The team's most surprising discovery came when a younger Krell appeared from the forest. It moved differently, almost limping. 2 larger Krell approached it, and instead of the aggression typical in predator hierarchies, they flanked the injured one protectively, helping it to a sheltered area. That's social behavior, Jack said excitedly. Pack dynamics, yes, but with care for injured members. That's complex social structure. When they returned to the ship, Captain Wright was waiting with a grim expression. The Council has upgraded their orders. A military vessel is en route to ensure compliance with the quarantine. We need more time, Jack argued, displaying his findings. These aren't mindless killers. They show intelligence, social bonding, and environmental management. The 3 species that supposedly went extinct. What if we're missing crucial context? Maya studied the footage with reluctant interest. The Council records state those species attempted resource extraction on planets where Krell were present. What if the Krell were protecting their worlds? Jack suggested. What if we've misunderstood their actions all along? Captain Wright checked the ship's communications. The military vessel arrives in 3 days. That's all the time you have to prove your theory, Jack. Jack nodded, already formulating a plan. I need to attempt direct contact. The entire crew turned to him in shock. That's suicide, Harper said flatly. Maybe, Jack admitted. Or maybe it's our only chance to understand a species everyone else has feared too much to truly see. Jack spent the next morning designing his observation blind. The structure needed to be secure enough to protect him, but open enough to allow clear observation. He selected a location at the edge of a clearing where the team had observed multiple Krell appearances. This is crazy, Harper said, helping Jack carry equipment despite his objections. At least take a weapon. Jack shook his head. A weapon sends the wrong message. I need to appear non-threatening. To a creature that could snap you in half without effort. Good luck with that. The blind was completed by midday. Jack set up his recording equipment and prepared for a long wait. Harper reluctantly left him with an emergency beacon and strict instructions to signal at the first sign of danger. Alone now, Jack settled in. Hours passed with only the sounds of distant wildlife. As dusk approached, he began to worry the Krell had detected his presence and avoided the area. Then he heard it, the distinctive rustle of something large moving through vegetation. A mature Krell emerged from the forest. In the fading light, Jack could see details missed in their previous encounters. Its scaled hide wasn't just dark. It contained patterns of deeper color that seemed to shift with movement. The amber eyes had vertical pupils that adjusted to the dimming light. Most surprisingly, there were what appeared to be feathered structures along its spine and forearms. The Krell moved with purpose, checking territorial markings and renewing them with precise claw patterns. Jack recorded everything, noting how the creature used different markings in different locations. It wasn't random. It was a language written in symbols. This pattern continued for 2 days. Jack observed multiple Krell, identifying at least 7 distinct individuals. He began to recognize their social hierarchy and communication patterns. They used a combination of vocalizations, physical displays, and what appeared to be scent markers. On the 3rd day, Jack witnessed something remarkable. 2 Krell were caring for an injured member of their group. The wounded Krell had a deep gash across its leg. The others gathered specific plants, chewed them to a paste, and applied the mixture to the wound. It was deliberate, knowledgeable medical care. They're not just intelligent, Jack whispered into his recorder. They have culture, medicine, language. That evening, Jack made a breakthrough while reviewing his footage. The Krell communicated not just through sounds and markings, but through subtle electrical signals that his equipment had detected as background noise. When he isolated these patterns, they showed clear repetition and structure, the hallmarks of language. Working through the night, Jack modified his translation algorithms to incorporate these electrical signals. By morning, he had a rudimentary understanding of basic Krell communication patterns. He noticed something else too. Surprising physiological similarities between humans and Krell. Both species showed increased electrical skin activity during stress or excitement. Both used similar vocal ranges for warnings versus social communications. We're more alike than different, Jack realized. On the 4th day, Jack observed a Krell he'd begun identifying as the Sentinel. It patrolled territory boundaries more frequently than others. When the Sentinel passed near his blind, Jack took a risk. He activated a small device that emitted a simple electrical pattern he'd identified as a non-threatening greeting. The Krell froze. Its head swiveled toward Jack's location with unsettling precision. For several seconds, it stood motionless, then approached with careful steps. It stopped 10 feet from the blind, studying it. Jack held his breath. The Krell made a series of clicking sounds, followed by a distinct electrical pulse pattern. Jack's translation program offered a tentative interpretation. Unknown, waiting, watching. The Krell didn't attack. Instead, it marked a new symbol on a nearby tree, different from its territorial warnings. Then it retreated to the forest edge and watched. Jack understood the message even without his translator. The Krell knew he was there, and it was curious. Jack returned to the Horizon only long enough to gather supplies and report his progress. Captain Wright looked concerned but didn't stop him when he announced his new plan. I'm going to leave offerings at the territory boundary, Jack explained, packing small technological devices and food samples into a container. Offerings? Harper asked skeptically. Like sacrifices to a god. Like gifts between potential allies, Jack corrected. Every first contact protocol includes exchange of representative items. Back on the planet's surface, Jack carefully placed his offerings in a small clearing. He included a simple light that activated with motion, a container of human food, and a basic recording device that played his voice saying peaceful greetings. Then he retreated to his blind to wait. The sentinel Krell discovered the items within hours. Its reaction surprised Jack. Rather than destroying the offerings or ignoring them, it examined each object with careful precision, turning them over in its clawed hands. It activated the light multiple times, seemingly understanding the cause and effect relationship. When it played the recording, it tilted its head, listening intently. After studying the items, the Krell did something unexpected. It left, returning shortly with an object of its own, a carved piece of wood marked with symbols similar to their territorial markers. It placed this beside Jack's offerings before retreating to watch from the forest edge. An exchange, Jack whispered into his recorder. It understands the concept of trade. Over the next 2 days, Jack left more items, and each time, the same Krell, which he now called Echo for its tendency to mimic sounds, would investigate and leave something in return. The exchanges grew more complex. Echo brought samples of plants, small captured prey, already dead. And once, a strange crystalline formation that seemed to glow faintly at night. On the 3rd day of exchanges, Jack took the biggest risk yet. As Echo investigated the new offerings, Jack emerged slowly from his blind, completely visible and unarmed. Echo immediately stood at full height, its spine feathers raising in what Jack now recognized as an alert posture, not aggression. Jack remained perfectly still, arms slightly away from his body in what he hoped was a universal posture of non-threat. For nearly 5 minutes, neither moved. Then Echo made a series of clicking sounds followed by electrical signals. Jack's translator offered, "New creature, still, waiting." Slowly, Jack raised one hand and mimicked the greeting gesture he'd observed between Krell. Echo's posture relaxed slightly. It took one step forward, then another. At 10 feet apart, they studied each other. Jack noticed Echo's eyes tracking his every movement. When Jack breathed deeply, Echo mimicked the chest movement. When Jack tilted his head, Echo did the same. "You're learning about me," Jack said quietly, "just as I'm learning about you." Echo made a sound Jack hadn't heard before, almost a purring vibration followed by clicks. The translator couldn't interpret it, but the non-aggressive posture was clear. Jack slowly reached into his pocket and removed his most advanced piece of technology, a multisensory recorder designed to capture sound, electrical impulses, and scent markers simultaneously. He placed it on the ground between them. Echo approached the device cautiously. After examining it, the Krell looked directly at Jack and made a series of complex sounds and electrical pulses. This time, the translator captured enough. Others came. Others took. Others hurt. You? Different. Jack felt a chill. This was confirmation of his theory. Previous contact had gone badly because other species had approached with exploitation in mind. "Yes," Jack said clearly, pointing to himself. "Different. Jack. Friend." Echo placed one clawed hand on its chest, mimicking Jack's gesture, and emitted a sound too complex for Jack to repeat. The translator interpreted it simply as Echo. When Jack returned to the ship that evening, his excitement was tempered by urgency. "Captain," he reported, "I've established communication, but we have very little time before the military arrives." "Then make it count," Captain Wright replied, "because they won't care about your friendship when they get here." Jack woke to the sound of alarms. He rushed to the bridge where Captain Wright was speaking urgently with Science Officer Maya. "The Council vessel Enforcer just dropped out of hyperspace," Wright explained. "Commander Bennett is demanding immediate evacuation of all personnel. They're moving up the quarantine timeline." "How long do we have?" Jack asked. 48 hours, Wright replied. "Then they begin orbital sterilization of all Krell territories." Jack felt sick. Sterilization. They're planning to wipe them out. "Standard protocol for Level 5 threats," Maya said, her tone suggesting she might not entirely disagree with this approach. We have to stop them, Jack insisted. The Krell aren't mindless killers. They're intelligent, with culture and language. This would be genocide. Jack didn't wait for permission. He gathered his equipment and rushed to the surface, heading directly to the meeting place. Echo was already there, as if sensing the urgency. Their communication had improved dramatically over recent days. Jack's translation device now intercepted and interpreted about 60% of Echo's language, enough for basic conversation. Danger, Jack explained, pointing to the sky. Bad creatures coming. Want to hurt Echo. Want to hurt all Krell. Echo's response came through the translator. Sky creatures came before. Took Earth. Took plants. Killed life. Jack nodded. Different times. Different creatures took things without asking. Made Echo angry. Krell protect, Echo replied, making a sweeping gesture toward the forest and beyond. All connected. Take one thing. All things die. Through a series of questions and simplified explanations, Jack began to understand. The Krell weren't just territorial predators. They were guardians of their planet's delicate ecosystem. Previous expeditions had attempted mining, deforestation, and other resource extraction that would have devastated the planetary balance. The three extinct species, Jack realized, they weren't victims of mindless aggression. They refused to stop exploiting the planet, and the Krell defended their world. Echo led Jack deeper into Krell territory than he'd ever been. They arrived at a vast underground cavern illuminated by bioluminescent plants. Inside, Jack saw dozens of Krell of various ages, along with what appeared to be a complex living arrangement with designated areas for different activities. At the center of the cavern stood a massive crystalline formation, similar to the sample Echo had given Jack, but enormously larger. As they approached, Jack's instruments detected intense electrical activity emanating from it. Echo placed a clawed hand on the crystal and sent a pulse of electrical energy through it. The crystal responded with patterns of light and electrical feedback. The translator struggled but managed. Memory stone. Krell history. Krell knowledge. Jack understood. This was their library, their repository of generational wisdom. With Echo's permission, he began recording the electrical patterns, capturing as much Krell knowledge as his devices could store. This is what we need, Jack told Echo. To show others you think. You remember. You protect. Echo's response came clearly. Will sky creatures listen? Or only destroy? That question haunted Jack as they worked through the day and into the night, racing against the approaching deadline. By morning, he had compiled enough data to make his case. Evidence of Krell language, social structure, historical memory, and their role as ecological guardians. When his communicator beeped, Captain Wright's voice was tense. Enforcer has deployed scout ships. They'll reach the surface in 2 hours. Get back to the ship, Jack. I need more time, Jack replied. There is no more time, Wright said. Commander Bennett has made her decision. The Krell are to be eliminated. Jack looked at Echo, who seemed to understand the gravity of the situation without translation. Then we'll have to show them they're wrong, Jack said, and we'll have to do it in person. The military vessel Enforcer was larger than the Horizon in every dimension. Its sleek, weapon-studded hull gleamed ominously as it took position in orbit above Novaris. On the planet's surface, scout ships circled over the forest where the Krell made their home. Jack stood with Captain Wright at the designated meeting point, a flat plain where one of the Enforcer's shuttles had landed. Commander Laura Bennett emerged, flanked by armed security officers. Her cold eyes surveyed the landscape with distaste. Captain Wright, she acknowledged stiffly. My orders are clear. All research personnel will evacuate immediately. Sterilization procedures begin at 800 tomorrow. Commander, Wright began, we have new information about the Krell species that wasn't available to the Council when they made their decision. Bennett's expression didn't change. The decision is final. The Krell have caused the extinction of 3 spacefaring species. We won't allow them to threaten a 4th. Jack stepped forward. Those species were attempting to strip mine this planet. The Krell were protecting their home. And now you're defending them, Bennett said, looking at Jack with thinly veiled contempt. Lieutenant Mercer, isn't it? The file says you're a xenobiologist with a history of excessive empathy for dangerous species. I have evidence, Jack insisted, holding up his datapad. Recordings of their language, their social structure, their ecological management systems. Bennett barely glanced at it. Predatory species often display complex behaviors. It doesn't make them less dangerous. Jack was about to argue further when a rustle from the forest edge caught everyone's attention. The security team raised their weapons as Echo emerged from the trees. "Hold your fire," Jack shouted, stepping between the guns and Echo. Echo stood tall, impressive in the morning light. Behind him, 5 more Krell appeared at the forest edge, their postures alert but not aggressive. "What is the meaning of this?" Bennett demanded, her hand moving to her own weapon. "This is Echo," Jack explained. "He's here to speak for his people." Bennett laughed harshly. "Speak. They're animals, Lieutenant." Echo moved forward with deliberate slowness, stopping beside Jack. The translator at Jack's belt captured Echo's series of clicks and electrical pulses, converting them to human speech through its speaker. "We are Krell," came the mechanized translation. "This world is our home. All things here connected. All things here in balance." The security team exchanged uneasy glances. Even Bennett seemed momentarily taken aback. "It's a trick," she finally said. "Some kind of recording device." "No trick," Echo responded through the translator. "Many seasons ago, sky creatures came, took Earth metals, killed forests, poisoned waters. Krell protectors of world. Krell warned. Sky creatures not listen. Krell defended home." Jack added, "The Krell maintained the ecological balance of this entire planet. The previous species that encountered them were attempting destructive resource extraction. The Krell defended their world. They weren't mindlessly attacking." Bennett's first officer, Lieutenant Daniel Harris, had been studying the Krell with increasing interest. Now he stepped forward. "Commander, these creatures are clearly sentient. Council protocol requires reassessment when new evidence of sentience emerges." "They killed entire civilizations," Bennett snapped. "To protect their home," Jack countered. "Wouldn't humans do the same?" Echo moved toward the datapad Jack had offered earlier. With surprising gentleness, his clawed hand activated the screen. The display filled with electrical patterns recorded from the crystal cave. The Krell historical records. "Krell memory," Echo explained. "All who came. All who destroyed. All who listened and left in peace." The standoff stretched into tense minutes. Bennett's expression remained hard, but Harris and several other officers were visibly affected by the demonstration of Krell intelligence. "Commander," Harris said quietly, "the Council should see this evidence before we proceed." "The Council gave us direct orders," Bennett replied. "The Council has never seen a Krell communicate," Jack pointed out. "They've never seen evidence of their intelligence or heard their side of the story." Captain Wright stepped forward. "I'm formally requesting an emergency council hearing. As the captain who made first contact, it's my right." Bennett's jaw tightened. Finally, she nodded curtly. "You have 6 hours to prepare your case. But the Krell remain confined to this planet until the Council rules." Echo's translated response was simple but profound. "Krell wait. Krell hope humans wiser than those who came before." The emergency council session stretched for nearly 18 hours. Jack presented all the evidence he had gathered about the Krell, their language, social structures, historical memory system, and ecological management practices. Echo participated remotely through a secure transmission link, answering the Council's questions with patience and clarity that impressed even the most skeptical members. When the final decision came, it was not what anyone had expected. The Council recognizes the Krell as a sentient species with territorial rights to planet Noveris, announced the chairperson. Furthermore, we acknowledge the misjudgment in previous encounters. The quarantine is lifted, replaced with protected status. Human-Krell diplomatic relations will begin immediately. 3 months later, Jack stood on a newly constructed platform overlooking the valley where he had first encountered Echo. The simple observation post had been replaced by a small but well-equipped diplomatic outpost. Signs in both human writing and Krell symbols marked the boundaries where visitors needed permission to enter. Ambassador Mercer called Lily Chen, who had chosen to stay on as part of the scientific team. The new delegation arrives in an hour. Jack nodded, still not entirely comfortable with his new title. When Captain Wright had recommended him as Earth's first ambassador to the Krell, he had tried to refuse. He was a scientist, not a diplomat. But the Council had insisted that the man who first communicated with the Krell was the logical choice to build formal relations. Echo approached, now wearing a specially designed translator unit that allowed him to communicate directly without Jack's intervention. More visitors come, Echo observed. Third group this month. Everyone wants to meet the Krell now, Jack replied with a smile. You're the most famous species in the galaxy. Famous for not being monsters. Echo added, displaying the dry humor Jack had come to appreciate. The change in perception across the galactic community had been remarkable. After centuries of being feared as mindless predators, the Krell were now recognized for what they truly were: intelligent guardians of a complex ecosystem. 2 other species had already approached the Council requesting permission to establish their own diplomatic contacts. Most significant was the Joint Research Initiative now underway. The Krell's methods of environmental management had drawn attention from worlds suffering ecological collapse. Their understanding of balanced resource use offered solutions to problems that had plagued other species for generations. The Talarian delegation will want to see the northern forests, Jack noted, checking his schedule. Their world has similar plant species that are dying out. Krell will show them how to listen to the trees, Echo replied. Trees speak slowly. Most species too impatient to hear. Jack smiled at the philosophical observation. Every day brought new insights into Krell wisdom, challenging human assumptions about intelligence and civilization. In the distance, a shuttle appeared, descending toward the landing pad. The Talarians were a cautious species that had previously avoided all contact with worlds where Krell were reported. Now they were eager to learn. Did you ever imagine this? Jack asked, gesturing toward the busy outpost and the peaceful Krell territory beyond. Echo's translator produced a sound that Jack recognized as laughter. Krell stories told of day when sky people would come who listen instead of take. Old stories not believed by young Krell. Old stories true after all. As they walked together toward the landing pad, Jack reflected on how close they had come to disaster. If Commander Bennett had proceeded with her original orders, the Krell might have been eliminated before anyone understood who they truly were. One small choice to observe rather than fear had changed everything. The Talarian ship landed, its blue-skinned occupants emerging cautiously. Jack stepped forward to make introductions, Echo beside him. The Talarians' eyes widened at the sight of the Krell, their tentacles rippling with what Jack now knew was nervous excitement rather than fear. Welcome to Noveris, Jack said formally. We have much to learn from each other. Echo's simple addition spoke volumes. And much to protect, together.